10,000 hours. That's how long it supposedly takes to master a skill like doing a wheelie, or 417 days of non-stop practicing, which is rather unrealistic. So ignoring all of that, let's see how much better I can get at doing a wheelie in just 1 hour. It's a new day and a new video, and yet my supermoto still looks exactly the same. Actually, that's not true. I washed it. Doesn't it look better? But I am as disappointed as you guys. However, this time I've at least ordered a few things for it. I've ordered all the parts I need to do a top-end rebuild, but apparently I'm quite far away from Austria. So now I wait. And I'm collecting my new graphics kit for it tomorrow. So subscribe so you don't miss what it looks like. But I mean, what's 1 more hour going to do to my motor? That sounds like famous last words before it blows up. But either way, I want to ride it and be a bit of a hooligan. So let's do that rather. With no headlight, no taillight, no indicators and slick tires, I guess you could say that I illegally rode the 1 whole kilometer from my workshop to the abandoned road. That will upset the Karens. I'm about 99% sure that this road was sent to me by the supermoto gods. Because you see, this road used to be perfectly functional. But then when they decided to build this railway line behind me, they thought this road was in the way for some reason. They did build a new road over there, but now this one kind of just lies here abandoned. Only accessible by 4x4 or motorcycle, which works perfectly for me. First of all, we need a baseline wheelie to see if I can get any better in 60 minutes. And apparently, this is all I've got. I know it's rather dismal, but believe it or not, that's 100 times better than I could do 2 years ago. Okay, let's do this. Start the timer, I guess. Overall, I probably have around 3 hours practice under my belt. So, only 9,997 hours to go. I've always been too scared to crash my street bikes to attempt to wheelie. So I only started messing around with them 2 years ago when I got a dirt bike. But I usually get annoyed with being so useless and give up before I actually make any progress. As you can see, I don't have any control or consistency. I can only chase out a baby wheelie, meaning I can't even get close to balance point, and I can't even do that every time. My rear wheel often just spins rather than grips, mostly because I don't load the back wheel with my weight, but also because slicks are pretty useless when they're cold. So while my stunt double over there keeps practicing, let's consider the 10,000 hour rule. Like I said, that's 417 days of non-stop practice. That's more than a year. At the very least, we'll need fuel stops for me and the bike. And I might need to take a nap every now and then, or earn some money to survive. Even if you could turn it into your full-time job and do it 8 hours a day, that's still over 3 years of practice. So more realistically, if we could practice just 1 hour a day, that's still 27 years to get our 10,000 hours in. I haven't even been alive that long. That means if I start now, I'll be 51 years old by then. And if you rebuilt your motor every 100 hours, that's 100 engine rebuilds. I don't think I'm that committed to wheelies. Fortunately, I don't want to be a wheelie master, just good enough to enjoy it. Except, I was ready for a break already. One of the biggest problems is, like I said, I'm not making any progress, really, so I'm already getting bored about 15 minutes in and want to go do something else. So considering 1 hour is already feeling longer than I expected, 10,000 might be a bit much for one day. Okay, round 2, let's try again. In a lot of ways, this is the perfect bike for this, but also not. An easy excuse is that it's got quite long gearing because it's ultimately a track bike, which makes it harder for me to do slow and controlled wheelies. But the main problem is that the idea of finding balance point is terrifying because it's so high up. and I don't want to break my new bike or coccyx. I always think it's a good idea to buy a beaten up bike that I don't mind trashing, so I can learn to do stuff like wheelies without worrying about the bike. And then I always end up buying a nice bike instead that I don't want to damage. And if you're not willing to push the limits, you're probably not going to learn, which unfortunately is what I'm doing here. I think it's time to take another break and reflect on whatever that was. So at what point do you think you can call it a wheelie? I mean, legally, I think I can do a wheelie. It's not very controlled, it's not at balance point. I can't do it all day, but I can chase it out. It would impress the guy next to me at the traffic light, surely, unless he's a professional stunt rider, of course. To be honest, I think 10,000 hours is probably a bit excessive, but 1 hour, or 4 in this case, isn't enough either. But this is where things took a turn. Instead of continuing to improve, I started to get worse. Even the simple thing of timing a clutch pop with weighting the back wheel was suddenly feeling foreign to me. I don't think there's anything that I'm gonna learn in the next 15 minutes that I didn't already learn in the last half an hour. I'm at that point where I'm kind of over the hill. I'm hot, I'm a little bit tired, and my coordination's going. So it's starting to get more sketchy than productive. So without even reaching my 60 minutes of practice, I decided to be a pansy and call it quits before I damage my bike or my coccyx. I will say, despite the fact that I'm not good at wheelies yet, having a nice bike, having a nice location and a bit of peace and quiet makes a huge difference when you're trying to learn something. The real question is, did I make any progress? And the short answer is yes. Technically, my best wheelie for the day was a tad better than my baseline. But what I really learned today is that even if you could physically practice something non-stop for 10,000 hours, it doesn't mean that you should. Because as beneficial as those 45 minutes of practice were for me today, I guarantee you that the time off between today's session and my next session will be even more valuable than the 15 minutes that I didn't complete today. It's the time off that allows your brain to reflect and learn from the experiences that it got. So I'm pretty sure that tomorrow, once everything's clicked and fallen into place, I'd be able to do my best wheelie ever. And who knows, in 9,996 hours time, I might not be half bad. But anyway, let me know if you want to see me practice stoppies at some point. Share this video with a mate who wheelies as bad as I do, and I'll see you on the next ride.